Here we go. Hello, everyone. We are on the Career and Spirituality Summit again. I'm Julie Pone, your host, and today I've invited a fantastic lady, Emily Gosh Harris, to help us discuss how to have our career in a more spiritually aligned way for fulfillment. So, Emily, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Oh, Julie, it's such a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you. So, Emily, for our viewers, we'll talk about your story a bit more, but I just want to introduce you briefly. You're an entrepreneur and a speaker. You're an amazing podcast host. I love your podcast. You're the founder and CEO of a company called Soul Media, whose mission is to actually help conscious companies with their branding and their marketing communication in a very intuitive and spiritual way, which is fantastic. So you might be the perfect person if some of our viewers might be pondering if entrepreneurship, should be their next step. I think you're the perfect person to talk to. So first, the first question I want to ask you, that I ask everyone, because career, like we know what it is, but spirituality can be a little bit of a moving target. What is your definition or your relationship to spirituality?
Yeah, we're not just humans with a soul. We are souls having a human experience. And I feel as though it is this divine spark, this essence that unites and connects each of us. And, we're kind of, I think, programmed to look at sort of the third dimensional plane of titles and who you are and in this world. And, the truth is that there is just so much more than that. We are multidimensional energetic beings, and we're so deeply, you know, experiencing one another on an energetic level. And for me, that is spirituality. It's like more than that meets the eyes. It's using the energy to really deepen our experience here and to connect deeper with our reason for being here, right? We all, I believe, have, a unique soul purpose and unique soul essence that we bring to this physical plane and human experience. And so that's what gets me really excited, is to be able to, connect with people and who they are and, why they're here, and really help others to, shine a light.
Yeah, I love that. What I hear is that is also a question of how that our soul, there is a specificity to our soul, like a soul personality or a soul design that we are here to express, like maybe even beyond the purpose. And we'll get to talk about that. That's exciting. And so, like, about you, about your story, like, how did you become a spiritual business mentor?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think that it started really with a genuine desire to help
Mhm.
others, and to be of service. I didn't know how or, what that would look like for a very long time, but I knew always that I had a desire to help others. And
Mhm.
I feel as though one of the biggest reasons why I'm here is transmutation. And that is in my own personal journey and with Gaia, you know, what I believe, we are transmuting collectively.
Mhm.
Um, my own personal journey really didn't start off very um, spiritual, if you will. I was immersed in the corporate world. I was very deadline driven. I was kind of, living by all the things we're kind of taught to strive for. So very much, focused on, um, you know, getting the promotion and doing all the things and really getting that external validation that came from having, a successful career with a Fortune 500 company. But I really quickly found that, all the things that were outside of me that I was, really taught to focus on were not fulfilling me. And, there was something that was missing, and it was through that experience that I really was forced to go within. And I think, probably many can relate to that story, that journey in some way, shape, or form. But it works until it's not working anymore, right? And then we have to evaluate them, and that gets us more in touch with our own inner essence, our own unique light. And otherwise, we're not, having that inward experience. And I feel like for me personally, it was that turning point of really becoming quiet, really connecting with the 0 point, really, understanding my own energy, that's where I began to see really profound shifts in my external reality. And so I really, in my own personal journey of navigating forward, what does it look like next for me? What does my soul really truly desire? I learned a lot of lessons. And so those are lessons that I began to share with others. And it just was a process that happened very organically. I didn't really kind of set out to be like, I'm going to be a business coach, or I'm going to, teach about, spiritual business principles. It just all sort of happened and unfolded organically. As, it was like, I feel like we learn even more as we teach and we share and we co-create with each other.
Yeah, yeah. At some stage, you mentioned that as you, just maybe to clarify for our viewers, you said you connected with the 0 point. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe we should explain a little bit, maybe for our viewers, just in case.
Yeah.
What that means.
Absolutely. The 0 point is really a place of stillness, and it's a place of dropping in to our heart space. And this can be really difficult to do if, we're kind of caught up in the monkey mind, or we're caught up in the to-do list, or we kind of have a go, go, go type of rhythm. And I know for me personally, that was my lifestyle. I had, a to-do list, and I would be constantly in that rhythm of fast-paced energy, right? But the 0 point is when we're able to bring a sense of stillness and neutrality and really connect with our own heart essence, our own unique light, and things, slow down. We don't have that sensation of time or chatter, or, we can really, from that place, have a lot more energetic flow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Going inwards to connect with the field or the universe, and being in the stillness of it instead of the rush of the human experience, something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And in your journey, like, I like the fact that it's not like, if some of our viewers are wondering, okay, when am I going to know, like, like what should I do very specifically? It doesn't necessarily happen like that. I like the way you describe that. It sort of kind of magically unfolded as you were like being true to yourself. So I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's such a good point that you bring up. I mean, truly, because I feel like, if we're in the left brain, it's like, well, what is the next thing? And I have to be, logical, and I have to plan it out. And, so much of the spiritual journey is about surrender. And it's about like really listening to the inner voice and surrendering to that divine flow of allowing instead of forcing. So I love that you bring that up.
And what were for you, what were the signs maybe that you recognized that something needed to change? Like maybe if, that maybe some people might be relating to that.
Yeah, I really believe that the body really gives us so many clues when we're out of alignment. That can be a feeling of just things being out of alignment, or just not having harmony. Like it feels like effort to get out of bed and to go to work and to do all the things, the meetings and the projects. It just feels like, wow, I have to force this, or I have to, it's draining my energy. And that can be the greatest indicator is when we get really, really in touch with reading our own energy, because our energy never lies. So we know when we feel like, oh, my heart is expanded. I'm so excited to have this conversation. I just, everything in my body feels alive and vibrating. And then versus the feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm drained. I feel fatigued. Maybe I feel, having some physical health symptoms that can manifest right from being out of alignment or from having our vibration lowered. For me, it was, relationships. So there was kind of health, relationships, kind of the perfect storm of things that were happening at that time, which, allowed me to really look at, okay, something is out of alignment here because my reality is mirroring back to me disharmony, right?
Okay. Oh yes, but you already had that enough self-awareness to recognize that it might not necessarily be, when we are caught into the fight or flight, we might not realize there was already great awareness on your part to see that.
Yeah, I think that, and there can be this tendency to kind of focus like fight or flight, like, oh, I still gotta keep going and keep going. It's like being on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And that's where the 0 point really comes in, because with the 0 point, we're able to take a step back and expand our awareness and look at sort of the big picture holistically. And, meditation and breath work can be really, really powerful tools to help us drop into the 0 point, drop into our hearts, because otherwise, sometimes it can be difficult to slow down and to really turn off those racing thoughts. But when we are able to step out and have that level of awareness and see the bigger picture, it's like, okay, this is one thing that I find so interesting. It's like sometimes when we are in fight or flight or fear, we see one path forward. And if we can take a step back and be calm, be the witnessing presence, we're able to broaden our perspective. And all of a sudden we see 25 paths, we see infinite paths. It's like, oh, I could do that, or I could do this and that. I could do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And, it becomes more of like a creative exploration forward. And it just, we're able to see in a different way.
Yeah, I love that. It's really truly like getting quiet, accessing through the stillness. We have access to a field of information that is beyond, when we tap into it, of course we can see more. We can see the stuff that we can't see with our very small conscious mind, I guess. Yeah, I like the way you explain it. You really explain it like in such a beautiful way. And so what was maybe the biggest learning and the challenges that you had to overcome, like maybe on the way to getting away completely from the corporate, to really feeling very settled into your new career?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's so many things along the journey of not only, leaving corporate, which of course, is a big leap to make, but then also like, I feel like, oh, that was just the starting point. That was just, the entry gate. And then it's like, oh my gosh, you enter this world and it's like so many learnings. It's like constant, every day, new lessons, new discoveries. But for me, making that leap was about courage. The courage to make that leap, the discovery of, and this has been continue on my journey, is the belief in myself, the confidence, the trusting is huge, believing that you are capable of living your dreams. And this is something that I'm so passionate about, is, believing in the beauty of your dreams, and then having the courage to dream even bigger. Sometimes we actually limit ourselves, what we think is possible, or, oh, this is working before, so I'm going to continue on this way. It's like, oh, but what if there were no limits, there were no barriers? what is possible and what would that look like for you? And I know that I had so much universal support. And sometimes, I always say chaos precedes transformation, because, in this period of time, like I was saying, there was a lot that was out of disharmony, but I was really I was asking spirit, I was asking the universe, like, help me out. I know that there is something in my heart that I am meant to do, like, help a sister out, make this easy and fun. And I really did receive so much guidance and so much, downloads during this period of time. And I was writing it down, and I was, this was while I was in, corporate, like every morning I would wake up and I would go outside and then I would journal like all the downloads that I would get from my run, and start actually, that was the plan, that was being downloaded through me, was this vision for Soul Media. And so it was the trusting that was actually, I was asking for that, and it was coming through me. But I think so often we can have a dream, something that we deeply desire, and then discount it and be like, oh, but I can't do that. Or I got this download, but I don't know all the steps in the process. And this is, scary, right? We can discount it. So trust is huge in that, of like, okay, I don't know all the steps, but I know this is coming for me. And, and I'm going to step into it and have that courage, that divine courage and that faith to, move forward. So the visualization and the dreaming of it was a big part of it. And then that assisted me in kind of moving me forward on a different path.
I like, something makes me like, when you're talking about how it happened for you, first of all, what comes to mind is that maybe it's important to remember ourselves to ask. Like you said, yeah, I started to get information, but I did ask for it. I think it's something that we can very easily forget to do, think that relying just on our limited human resources and thinking that we have to do everything from this limited standpoint. And in fairness, how all we have to do is have that intention and really ask for the guidance, for the help. So I think that's powerful. And like in this, like, what about maybe soul purpose? Because that's I know that's a topic that we both enjoy. And can you, like, what's your take on soul purpose? Why is it important? How do we find it? Why is it important to be maybe clear about it before we maybe take some steps?
Yeah, so many juicy kind of topics to explore there. I really truly believe that we all have a unique soul blueprint and, sort of divine plan for being here and incarnating. And we discover it along the way, and it's ever, changing and evolving. But to really get in contact with that and connect with our own soul purpose, our own soul essence, I believe is through a process of, oftentimes clearing the clutter. One of my favorite authors and dear friends, Penny Pierce, she talks about this in her transformation series, and it's about clearing the clutter. It's like the soul is this vibrant powerhouse, just expansive creator energy. And, we're, confined into our physical bodies. And then there's, lots of programs that are running in the collective. And so, we might have been taught at an early age that, we can't do certain things, or we can't have a big voice, or we have to be nice all the time, or it's not safe to be visible, and these are things that need to be cleared. They're limiting beliefs that, are no longer serving us. And so it is a process of, and it doesn't happen all overnight, but it's just as we remove those layers, and this is a part of the spiritual awakening ascension journey that we're all on and a part of is like, okay, healing trauma, looking at the shadows, looking at any of those limiting beliefs that are showing up for us.
Yeah.
And the key here really, in my own experience, is to look at whatever arises without judgment. And this has been really, really hard for me because it's like, oh gosh, there's another limiting belief again. There's that unworthiness wound that's showing up again, but really, truly, when those things are showing up, they're showing up for us as a gift because they're ready to be cleared. But in order to clear them, we really need to wrap our arms around ourselves and be that mothering, that divine mothering energy that is really showering ourselves with unconditional love, because it requires that to be able to transmute. That is transmutation, is to look at any situation through the lens of love and flood in more light into our central channel, into our nervous system, into any parts of the brain that are holding on to those limiting beliefs so that we're able to clear them, so that we're able to flush them out. And we notice that throughout that process. And that's why, again, when I say chaos precedes, transformation, because sometimes in the beginning it can feel chaotic. For some people, it is like a dark night of the soul. That's not everyone's experience. Some people drop in very awakened and clear. That definitely wasn't the experience that I, chose in this lifetime.
Me neither.
Right? There's a divine reason and there's a divine purpose in all of it. And so the ability to truly, go through that process, however it shows up in our lives, wherever we're at, so to speak, in our journey. And with that, I believe that the soul speaks and the soul becomes clearer and clearer, and we're not functioning through our thinking mind, our egoic mind, as much as is really dropping into the heart. What is my soul desire to express? And I'm going to honor that. And that's when really it starts to become, I believe, these drop-ins of well, that doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah.
That's, well, I mean, that's, there's these magical downloads that we might get of oh, write a book. I don't know about that. I have a lot of other things going on, or start a podcast, or, all of these things that take a lot of courage, because a lot of times, with our soul purpose, there's stepping outside of our comfort zone and, and getting comfortable in the discomfort, because that's a part of our soul growth. Here's a key, right? If we're in a job that's draining our energy, we feel drained and depleted at the end of the day, and we actually don't feel as though our soul is growing and evolving, and we're having that growth that we deeply desire. We're challenging ourselves in an emotional, spiritual, mental, physical way, that perhaps, there's elements of our soul purpose that are desiring to be expressed or listened to.
Yeah. How do we know when, let's say, it's a true message, it's a true ask or message download, like you say, from spirit, from the soul, or when we sort of when it's something that we think we're talking ourselves into thinking that we need or want to do something? How can we tell the difference when we're maybe at this not so used to listening?
Yeah, that's such a great question, because especially for those of us who identify with being, achievers at some point in our timeline of, okay, well, I know I'm going to be, want to help. So here is the checklist of things that I need to do. And you know what I mean? And so I think the difference really is, the download that comes that feels unforced, you're just allowing, you're in that surrendered state, you're really like, to your point, you're really asking, your higher self, your team, the universe for support. Show me, guide me with grace and ease, allow me to, understand my next steps in this process. And we might get something that feels exciting, and then at the same time, a tinge of nervousness. I find like when it is like soul purpose related, it's like, oh, there's a part that's like, yes, that's so exciting, how amazing. And then like, I don't know if I could do that. And so it is that combination that is like a divine recipe for moving us forward on our path.
Yeah, I like that, because it makes sense in a way that that it's going to be outside of our comfort zone, because when we operate from the human nature and our instincts, like we have our instincts that want to keep us safe, so they are more likely to keep us in what we're used to, even though it might still be effort and struggle, but that's the stuff that we're used to, so it's familiar. But then this, like you described, this, if it's a calling from the soul, is going to be something that's going to propel us, that are going to require to go a little bit beyond and in the unfamiliar. So that's a great sign to recognize the true. And now the trick is to follow it, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that you bring that up, because that really is like the difference between discerning between the ego and the soul.
Yeah.
Because the ego is always going to want to keep us safe. So if we hear that voice that's like, no, you shouldn't do that, that's not safe for you to do, just stay here, stay hidden, stay in your comfort zone, you're making, good money, things like this that are really meant to keep us safe, versus that nudge from the universe to step into something that's really unknown.
Yeah, it's like nearly like the voice of reason and the voice of passion.
Yes.
Great. No, I really like it. And what's so when we are able to listen to this voice, so then we might able, like finding what we call our purpose. But from listening to you, I think you're one of the closest from what my own sort of view on this, is that there might be a slight difference between purpose and design. What's like purpose as in maybe something or something, a what that we might want to do, and the design that might be like maybe our own unique personal way to show up in how we're going to do it. Do you have what's your, maybe can you talk a little bit about that? What's your take on this?
Yeah, I want to make sure that I understand that question.
Okay.
What I feel like, I think you're saying is, our purpose can show up in so many different ways.
That like what I'm getting at is that maybe purpose is more of some being attracted to something, as in like a task, like an activity, but then that we also have this blueprint that the activity, depending, like the same activity or the same purpose, depending on our blueprint, our design, we might be doing it in a different way, or we might have a different personality to bring into it, something like that. I wonder if you're seeing that too. In
1000%, and this goes back to maybe like some of the limiting beliefs that can be running in our subconscious of like, well, I want to start a podcast, but there's so many spirituality podcasts out there. Are there so many spiritual business mentors out there, and I'm just getting started, right? It's some things that can pop up as we're stepping out of our comfort zone. And, and the truth is there is so much need out there in the world right now. I mean, we're just going through so much transformational shifts during this time, and there's a place for all of us to bring forward our unique way of expressing and our unique way of helping or assisting the collective and sharing our gifts, and that's what's so exciting about it. It's like people are going to respond to your message, what you have to say, your own unique way of saying it and sharing it, and the energy that you bring forward, in different ways than others. And that's why we need, everybody shining their light in their own unique way.
Yeah. Actually, it's good because I think it's a great segue in another topic, that we had when we met. We talked a little bit about that. I know, creativity is something that's very important to you. So can you talk to us about it? Why is it important? And I'll let you expand on it.
I think that creativity is one of the most valuable resources that we have, hands down, as a collective. If we were to tap into the collective creativity that we have, we would literally be able to solve all the problems in the world. And so, I just can't speak enough about creativity. But before we kind of get into how to cultivate it, how to tap into our creativity, I'd love to just share some observations about what really limits creativity, and that can be judgment of self. It can be perfectionism. It can be, burnout, or feeling a pressure of, being under a time pressure. So those are some things that we will want to be mindful of as we're cultivating our creativity. If we're having, a business, we're expressing our soul purpose, that is a creative endeavor of sharing my voice and sharing my passion and doing that in your own creative way. So really, one step that I feel is really integral to the process of bringing forward creativity is to nurture the body.
Back to the body. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And really, understanding that our bodies are cyclical, just like nature, and we go through our own, seasons and rhythms. And so that it is so important to tap into the receptive energy, often before even, embarking or, moving forward on a creative project. It's okay, tapping in, and this could be, just even a short meditation or connecting to the 0 point is okay, what is desiring to be expressed through me, and allowing that creative energy to flow. The other thing is that if we are feeling burnt out, or we're feeling, just a little bit out of alignment, is to tap into all of our bodies, our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body, our spiritual body, and really ask what they need. How can I support? And that might be food, it might be movement, or, some Kundalini, or, it could be just you need more hydration, right? So there's subtle things that can really make a difference, because when we are nourished and we are in, alignment, we are infinite creator beings, and there's no limit to the amount of creativity that can flow forward through us. And that's really exciting. And so I think that there's lots of different ways that we can see that and form. So that could be just creative play. It could be, dance and movement. The idea really here is to get out of the left brain, those, activities where it's oh, but I really got to write this email, or I got to, check this item off of my list. It's really hard to be write something that is creative, that, that really comes from the heart when we're in that sort of go, go, go mindset. So getting out of the left brain, dropping into the right brain, this, sea of infinite possibilities, is so important. And, automatic writing is a great tool for that. Visualization, really connecting to that which you desire to create, and allowing that to flow forward, and just changing up your routine even. You know, if you're in a routine where you're like constantly working in the same place and you know, it's like mix it up, like add some excitement and some energy and some newness, or co-create. You know, if you're used to working alone, maybe it's like having a creative brainstorming session with a friend, or you know, co-creating. So there's so many different ways. The sky is the limit to really bring in that more creativity.
I like the way you highlighted, you know, that, you know, coming back to the body being that nurturing, you know, like it feels like it's the you're bringing back that the same idea as what we need to do in order to identify our limiting beliefs, that empathy for ourselves, that self-love, to slide into that place in order to let the magic happen somehow. I really like that. Yeah. This keeps coming back, you know, like that's a message for me as well. Like, you know, it's like, yeah, like we need to nurture and, you know, like be kind, you know, for the, to be in the right frame of mind, the state of mind, shifting from left brain to, yes, this, it's weird. It's such a different way to process information. Like
It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. The one is like so much experiential that, yeah, I know that for me it was very logical. Like it took me a while to kind of get into this flow, like and oftentimes, yeah, like it's still, you know, still not yeah, still requires like a conscious effort to, like you, exactly like you described, get myself out, you know. And like for our viewers, like even just taking a shower, that's
Yes.
what, yeah, doing
Yeah.
something different, getting a breath of fresh air, like, you know, rather than getting stuck on the trying to get some creativity onto something, like trying to force the creativity to come through the logical channel doesn't work. Or
It
it's
doesn't work.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I love that you bring that up. It's such a great point, because it's true.
Yeah.
And the key is, like, to your point, is like recognizing, bringing that level of awareness to, like, oh, you know, I'm really trying to force this, or I'm really, you know, this is not feeling like it's flowing. And I'm going to get up and I'm going to go for a walk in nature. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to change my energy. And that's really the most exciting thing I think about the entrepreneurial journey, is that, like, our businesses really truly are a reflection of our energy. So we always have a divine mirror that's, you know, a reflection of kind of our consciousness in that present moment.
Mhm. Actually, brilliant. The best segue ever into, like, you know, I wanted to ask you about more specifically, like, you know, your business, you know, how you are helping entrepreneurs. And because some of our viewers might be on the, you know, on the edge. Maybe they are already entrepreneurs, but maybe they are still in employment and wondering, should I, may I, shall I? So, like, what advice do you have for them into identifying whether it's the right next step for them? It's
Okay.
something that could fit.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So if you're feeling a nudge over and over again, but there's something more, and, you know, it's like you just keep getting these subtle signs of, like, there's something else that I feel I'm meant to create, but I'm not sure what it is. You know, if that keeps coming up, then honor that and spending time really listening. And that is such a tremendous act of self-love, to give yourself the permission to express and explore when something isn't clear. You know, you don't know the full roadmap of, you know, how you move forward, but you're honoring that voice, that calling from your soul, that there is something else, right? So for me, that, I mean, definitely it was like, okay, I know there's something else that I'm meant to be doing, but you know, and just having this sort of like this unsatisfaction, like, you know, like there's something else that I meant to fulfill, but I'm not quite sure what it is. And so that took a while to really start to listen to that voice and honor that and shape it and listen to it. And I really believe that we're living in extraordinary times. And this is such an exciting time to be here because we can create different timelines so rapidly. And it's all based on where we place our energy. So if we're placing our energy in lack or scarcity, or, I'm not sure how to do this, then, we'll get more of that. But if we really practice visualizing and allowing ourselves to dream, then we'll really be able to see and feel those shifts very, very rapidly. And we don't need to know all the pieces of the puzzle. And that's where we can really surrender and allow that universal support to pour in, because whatever your dream is, there is a 1000% need for your unique light in the world and how you express that. So that's the first thing that I would say, right, is to get to be comfortable with the dream. And, and then also, I think it's so important to really understand our vibration. And we talk about this like almost to the point, it's like okay, raise your vibration. Like, who hasn't heard? But really, truly, I mean, this goes for anybody, no matter where you're at on the spiritual path, is to come back to your own vibration, because that's what's creating our reality. So the reason why I bring that up is because, like, say we're in a job where we feel like, oh, I'm just, going through the motions, but I know there's something else. But if we're focusing on the fact that this is really draining my energy, I don't like my coworker, like it's all the things that we can focus on, it's very hard to manifest a new reality, to call something in. So knowing that, okay, if I'm feeling and sensing like there's something more out there for me to be doing, it's already in my field. Like that reality already exists. So all I have to do is, raise my vibration and attune to that, and it'll become into physical form. So that's a next step of it. And the other thing is that, like, I feel like sometimes we can be so rigid with, like, people talk about soul purpose and, like, does that mean that I need to start a spiritual business? And like, no, that doesn't necessarily mean that. It could, but you can also bring in your soul purpose could be that you're meant to be in corporate and be a light and be a way shower and, be in your heart space and share that love with everybody that surrounds you. And so there's so many different ways. It could be that you're going to keep your job and you're also going to start, a side co-creative project where you, are assisting people in some way that's creative and exciting and fun. It could be that you really feel called to start your own business and you desire to kind of try that out and feel and experiment into what that feels like for you. So recognizing that there's really infinite ways to tap into your soul essence and your soul purpose and bring that in. And like, I'm a big believer in, we can make, Martha Beck says, 1 degree turns, meaning like, okay, I don't need to necessarily quit my job tomorrow. I could, but I could, all of a sudden, hey, I want to work with these clients and I'm going to do this on the weekends, or I'm going to find the space and time to start a podcast or start journaling that, turns into a book. So where there's a will, there's a way. But the idea is like, I'm going to pour a little bit more of my light and my essence into my current reality so that it fills me up and I feel joy and I feel excitement. And that is like a snowball of energy and excitement that continues to build and build over time.
Yeah. I love that. It's like the inside job again, instead of trying to figure out, oh, is it a business? Is it this? It is that? To just like focusing on raising our vibe first, so that the clarity is going to come and allow us, we're going to follow our bliss towards the direction that's most appropriate. I like that. And that as you were talking, I was thinking, because sometimes we may, especially maybe if we are like caught into the hamster wheel, we might be very much into that left brain. And maybe the thought that maybe to do something different, and especially to get into entrepreneurship, might be a little bit scary, as in like yeah, like, you know, it's yeah, it's a different animal altogether. And I know some people are a bit resistant to like to going there, but as I listen to you and the way you like your approach to finding out the proper path, it's like it opens me up to the idea that there we might be scared about going into business because we're seeing it again from that same length of the left brain. But then you're opening up a perspective of doing entrepreneurship in a radically different way that is so much more through creativity and through being in the flow, so that maybe thinking about entrepreneurship that way might not be so scary, as long as we are surrendering and having the trust. So like, yeah, I wanted to say that, like, yeah, I find it very inspiring to listen to you talking about this, because suddenly it's like, oh, but like, you know what, business could be a lot, a lot smoother and easier and flowy and exciting, instead of maybe being that possibility a bit of a scary step. I really like that.
Oh my goodness. I love that you bring that up, because this has been probably the greatest learning for me throughout my journey, is that our businesses are a reflection of our energy, and the basis of actually building a strong energetic foundation is much more valuable than any type of logical or strategy or technical aspects that we can learn and bring in. I mean, to your point of sharing, it's like, well, it's going to be as hard or as fun or as joyful as we allow it to be, or we create it to be. And then once we realize that, and we realize that our energy is the foundation of what we're building, and sometimes we need to go back to the foundation and say, oh, you know, there's some things that are, you know, stunting the growth, or, you know, that some weeds that we need to pull out of the garden. And that foundation becomes, you know, so much more supportive of our growth. And the other thing that you know, just came up in your sharing is that, and oh my gosh, I can totally relate to this. And I feel like many people listening will be able to relate to it. It's like, I just want to be of service. I like prayer. May I be in the highest, greatest service to humanity. I will do whatever, you know, show me spirit, right? And then it's like, oh, well, you've got to, you know, show up and, you know, like you get a download that's maybe like, okay, well then, you know, share this on with your community and share, you know, be really visible. And it's like, okay, well, I'll do everything but that, you know. It's like just kind of negotiating of like the areas where we feel a little bit uncomfortable, or that are outside of our comfort zone. But I really believe that it is like a muscle, you know, courage is a muscle. So the more that we experiment with areas that feel a little bit, there's a little level of discomfort there, the more the path, it's like jumping in with two feet of like, okay, I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to let go of the judgment. I'm going to let go of the piece of me that is, you know, has the perfection program running. And I'm, you know, sharing this to myself as well, because it's a constant reminder. It's like, okay, you know, the more that I can just surrender and jump with 2 feet in on the path, the more the rest of the path will appear.
Oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, that trust again of not trying to figure everything out by ourselves, and just the comfort zone, and accepting to take the leap. That's yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like as we're stepping more and more into our, you know, into our spirituality, like into spirit, of course we have to stop hanging on to the rail.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so like in, like, you know, business and yeah, like everything that you shared, it was also making me think that I think it's important that if someone is interested and like is going down that path, there is so much stuff out there, you know, and formulas and mentoring and coaching that may sort of be like a that are shared by people for whom it worked really well because they were very aligned. Maybe their strategy is very aligned to who they are. So like, so of course they're sharing their strategy, but then like because it worked for them, we might feel attracted. It's like, oh, look, like it worked, you know, it looked great, so I'm gonna follow the strategy like to the T. And then it may brings us out of maybe the flow of our alignment because suddenly we're trying to align to someone else's. So yeah, I really find that like finding something and maybe working with someone like you who doesn't, isn't it like you're helping people like find like shaping their brand, their business from the inside out. You're not in, it doesn't feel like you're imposing any formulas or strategies. You're trying to have, you open the door for them for it to be expressed out. Is that, am I right with that? Is that what you, how you work your magic?
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way of describing it, because it's true. Like I don't feel like cookie cutter approaches work.
Yeah.
You know, of like, okay, you know, this formula and apply it. It's like everybody is so unique. And what I feel like what people desire to express is very unique as well. And also our gifts, you know, and so that's one of the reasons why I love, you know, astrology, because it is one blueprint that we can look at, and it's one that I use in the work that I do. But just to better understand, you know, the unique gifts and the unique, you know, path that each is on, and being able to kind of co-create and navigate that, I think is such a exciting, such an exciting thing for me.
Yeah, and so so that's our segue as well into like, so you're offering us, our viewers, a really nice gift, and so maybe like, you know, like it's time to talk about it. Like it's a guide to creating our own brand and social media vision. So can you tell us a little bit about it, and maybe for, in case some people are maybe not there, that is it also applicable for people who might want to build their personal brand for employment, for instance, to stay in the corporate world?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know, I love journal prompts. This is a guide that has, you know, numerous prompts that allow you to really connect with yourself, your own soul essence, and understand also some of the core messages that you bring forward, things that have shaped your own journey, and then also to better understand your community and who you might be serving. And, you know, the key, I feel like for many is that, you know, we're serving and we're assisting an earlier version of ourselves in whatever unique way that shows up. But oftentimes, you know, it is getting even more in tune with our own personal journey and the wisdom, the profound wisdom that we each have to share with others. And so I think just taking the time to be able to connect with that is invaluable. And then, you know, to your sharing of, you know, whether you're in a full-time job or you're an entrepreneur, you know, I think better understanding the community around you and your own, you know, your own message that you have to share is so valuable. Even if you're not, you know, somebody that is on social media posting every day, it can be a valuable tool regardless.
Yeah, I like that because we're always like we are always influencing other people. I mean, we're always in relationships, so like there it's important to pay attention to the influence and that we have in our community. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with this guide with us. So like, the link, is in the email that our viewers are receiving the video. So all the details, like, it's going to be easy to download, and to get the link will be there, so they can get onto your website and download the guide. And like, before finishing up, like, I know there is something else that you're offering that maybe our viewers might be interested in. It's like some interesting soul planning sessions. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting as we record this, we've got a lot of retrograde energies right now. Mercury just went retrograde yesterday, and then Venus is also retrograde. So this is a really great time. And it's also the beginning of the year, where we kind of set sort of a foundation, or maybe get some, get a vision for how we want to move forward. What are some of the beautiful things that we want to bring into fruition for the year? But this is a great time to be internal with those energies, and really supportive of connecting to our soul and to that which our soul desires to express and bring forward. So that's something that I absolutely love doing. It's a co-creative journey session where I'm looking at your unique blueprint, your natal chart, and then we're connecting with the vision that's on your heart, and really dreaming big. So this is one of my gifts that I love to share, is the ability to dream things into doing. And it is like that combination between the water element, like our dreams, intuition, and then grounding it into like practical actionable, easy steps forward, the earth element. And that's what we do in these sessions. It's a lot of fun.
It's like spiritualizing matter, or materializing spirit.
Yes,
Yeah. So where can our viewers find these sessions?
It's on my website. I am emilyharris.com, and I can share, the link as well.
Perfect. Yes, we'll have the website in the email as well, so people will be able to kind of to check that out as well. I would really want to encourage as well our viewers to listen to your podcast, your spiritual show, the Soul Collective. I mean, you're interviewing like amazing people, and it's always so warm, and yeah, there is a lovely energy, like so like, if you're interested in investigating more in any of the topics that we are investigated today, there is going to be like more content to listen on Emily's podcast. And so, Emily, before maybe we finish, is there any last message that you want to share with people, the ones that may be stuck in a job, or the ones that are maybe out of a job?
Yeah, let me tune into that for a second. I really truly believe that 2022 is going to be an exciting year, and it's going to be exactly what we make of it. And so I think that one message that I have is to really attune to your own highest timeline, and to not get too caught up in the collective timeline. I think that many of us experienced in 2020, 2021, a lot of polarity that was taking place in the collective. And I think 2022 really is going to be about our own personal path, our own purpose, bringing that forward, really connecting with the beauty that we wish to see in the world, because that is, us co-creating the new earth. And that's what I feel really excited and passionate about. It's like, what is the most beautiful vision that you have for our planet? And what does that look like? What are, just some simple steps that you can take every day to make our world a better place, to raise your own personal vibration? And just doing those simple things will absolutely change the world.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Emily. Yeah, like I couldn't dream of a better way to finish this interview. Like that, it's not like the transformation is not for only for our own benefit. It's also for the benefit of the collective. And the times that we are living in are such a reminder that we'd better get we'd better get going and getting this planet a better place. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for having me and for your divine path of service and all the magic and beautiful heart space that you provide and bring forward to humanity. I'm so, so grateful.
Oh, thank you. I'm very honored, Emily, because like your work is very impressive. So I was very honored that you accepted to come and share your wisdom with us today. So to our viewers, thank you so much. You'll have all of the information about how to connect with Emily on the email. And I'll see you very soon in the next interview. Thank you. Bye.